Ladies and gentlemen, the following is scheduled for one fall. It is time for That Way Cool Wrestling Show! Hello everybody, welcome to That Way Cool Wrestling Show. My name is Danny J, along with Charles Gemini Gregory, LeGrande, Onslaught Jackson, and Mad Mark Lindsay. Guys, we're in the house here tonight. Make sure you check us out on Facebook. That's That Way Cool Wrestling Show. And also on the website, which is thatwaycoolwrestlingshow.com. We can be found on Google Play Music, if you look up That Way Cool Wrestling Show, as well as Apple Podcast. So we're all over the place. You can hear us in the car. You can watch us on the computer. Lots of fun. Guys, we have a great show today. In wake of the recent ESPN 30 of 30 that aired...
34:30. Come on, get it.
34:30, 30 of 30. It was like 11:30, and I was getting ready to go to sleep. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. We're going to talk about what is arguably the greatest sports entertainer of all time. We're going to talk about Flair today. Some of our favorite matches, some of our favorite matchups, some of our favorite things about Ric Flair. If you're a Ric Flair fan, this is going to be the show to listen to today. Ric Flair, undoubtedly, like I said, one of the greatest guys in this sport, in this industry. LeGrande,
entertainer-wise, sure.
Yeah. What do you
Definitely, entertainer-wise. It wasn't a lot of revelations for me when it came to the 30 for 30.
Right.
But it was good to see somebody document in a linear way everything that was going on with Rick over the years.
Yeah.
A lot of old memories that I forgot about. You know,
yeah,
that's what happened. You've been watching stuff since you were a kid, and you hear stories, but it's like, wow, this is crazy. You know, I mean, it was great as a whole.
Yeah,
I would like to see more wrestlers get that because let's face it, we have to actually count them as athletes. They are definitely entertainers. They are a big part of a lot of people's lives, and you would like to have a little more knowledge about them other than the basic persona that you get from what you see on TV. But I would like to say it was a good, very good documentary.
I think it was very good. I still look at wrestling. If you think back to, there was an old documentary that was done just on professional wrestling in general. And I forget the guy who narrated it, who was like an old-time announcer from that worked with Johnny Carson and stuff like that, and it goes back to the old Carney days, and how this is like a carnival show. And to me, wrestling to this day, 2017, is still to me like a Carney show. You know what I mean? Like I think of it like that. I think of it like a traveling road show type of thing, and I still have that need. I don't get involved in the drama part of it. A lot of people that don't watch wrestling say, "Oh, it's like a male soap opera." Well, I guess in a way you can assume that, but for me, it was like to see these athletes perform these feats in front of people on a nightly basis. It just reminds me of that, of like this traveling Carney.
I'm gonna take your thought, your opinion there, and kind of expand on mine because you're kind of close to me a little bit. It's well documented. I was watching WBF prior to my NWA time, and I always thought of the WWF as that, a traveling. It was like an act. It was a spectacle that you paid to see every month at the Philadelphia Spectrum, and then you saw these guys on TV.
Yeah,
Ric Flair to me made it a sport. It was a sport.
Yes.
He took that traveling aspect, his character in general, but he took that aspect of Carney or traveling show, and I don't want to say he made it real to me, but it was more like an athletic sport than it was entertainment at that time. And let's be honest, if you're ESPN and you're going to do a documentary on pro wrestling, there's really only two that you're going to even consider.
You better not say that one.
Well, of course.
You bet not.
Which
Why
one?
not? Hogan, Flair. They're the only two that you could really do a documentary on. Go.
First of all,
Charles, stop me from talking.
First of all, there's Hogan and there's Flair.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hogan was nothing but an entertainer. That's it. He was a figurehead.
And he was booked as such.
Him in the ring, he fucking sucked. All right, let me finish. Ric Flair was a worker, okay? He could work. He could wrestle. But he could give you the entertainment side. That's why he's considered the best there is.
I don't argue with that.
Oh, let me finish. Shut up.
I'm not arguing.
He made wrestling what wrestling is today. Not the Hulk Hogan's, not the John Cena's. Ric Flair was a man. He didn't, like, in the documentary, he didn't act that way. He was that way. Hulk Hogan is an act. John Cena is an act.
Right.
Hulk Hogan, say your prayers, drink your milk, do your vitamins, and you're shooting up fucking roids.
But ESPN is a cable, it's the number one cable channel in America. If you ask a million fans to name a pro wrestler, I guarantee you Hulk Hogan is going to be the one that they mention.
Well, and that goes back to promotion. That goes back to the promoter itself. Did Hogan / Ric Flair take these personas and make them something to be remembered? Yes. But I think it comes down to the promotion as well. If you listen to that 30 for 30, and he talks about it, like the difference between the WWF and the NWA, the difference in promoting, where you're talking about the WWF had a targeted audience of children below the age of like 10, and then the average or the targeted audience for the NWA
was working class
18 to 35.
Right.
So definitely it was promoted differently. And if I showed somebody who never saw either one, WWF quote unquote and NWA, and I said, all right, I'm going to show 1 hour of WWF and 1 hour of Jim Crockett Promotions, you'll be like, oh my God, this is completely ass different.
Right.
It's night and day. It really was. And we've talked about it many times. When I finally got to see JCP, it was a switch. It was a culture shock, because I was like, what is with this? What is this? What am I watching? And then very quickly, I was hooked, because like you said, they talked about championships and rankings, and it wasn't about, oh, the dentist gave me a bad molar, so now I'm going to challenge him to a fight in the wrestling ring. It was, I'm the best there is. And here's the cool thing, and Flair personified this. Flair as a heel wasn't your classic heel. Neither were the Horsemen.
He wasn't a coward, right?
The thing was,
he was, I'm going to kick your ass. And then
you hated him.
But
you hated him, quote unquote, and the rest of them, because they were right. They were pompous, they were crass, they were pricks, but they were able to back up what they said. And the only thing they could say to you in a rebut to anything, saying, oh, you're horrible, this, and the other thing, is like, you know what? You're just jealous because you're not me. And that's what it came down to. You're like, oh my God, these guys are correct. True.
Since you're saying that, I used to say back in the day, Hogan wanted to be Flair.
Yeah.
If you think about it, all the promotions, all this, all his money, all his Hulkamania bullshit, deep down in my mind, he hated that Flair. You say Ric Flair to the guys in the back, and he got 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more respect than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Think about it. I'm just putting it out there. He did.
And think about when he came in the WWF, right?
Yeah.
They brought him in. They made a mention to this. Like, it's like
they try to downplay him.
Right. Until then, Ric Flair was like, the WWF and Hulk Hogan were such mainstream, even at that point, that it was like, meanwhile, Ric Flair, regardless of that, is still becoming this guy.
Well, Ric Flair was he was a traveling world champion, so he would go to Missouri, wrestle for Harley Race.
Right.
He would go to Texas, wrestle for the Von Erichs.
Right.
He would go to the Carolinas, wrestle for Crockett.
Right.
So he was all over the place. He would go to Portland, wrestle for Paul Bosch. Everyone knew him, but like you said, not on the main level that they knew. I think that was more Vince McMahon than it was Hulk Hogan.
No, I think no. I think you're wrong. I think it was Vince. Hulk Hogan had a lot to do with it.
Of course he did. He had charisma and everything. But Vince
he protected what he saw he had.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, you have to admit, is that modern day. Well, not modern day. Past John Cena. trying to squash what he doesn't control. I'm just being honest. Okay? When Flair came in, just think about how they had him come in. Think about how they had him come in.
Oh, I loved it.
As the real world champion.
Yeah. I mean, he came in and he was doing Iron Man matches.
That's
He was
respect.
doing this, he was doing that.
That's respect.
He came in and won the Rumble.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yep.
He
Wasn't
right.
that his debut match?
No.
Because he came in and did promos and vignettes.
Well, he did matches. He wrestled Piper and Kerry Von Erich. I want to say like October, November '91.
Leading up to the Rumble.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a.
It was all right, but it was like 3 to 4 months though. That was it.
Yeah, and then they gave him the title. And when you think about it, he was the first small guy world champion in WWF at that point. You know how like a lot of people recognize like when Bret Hart won the world title, and now they switched over to these more mid-sized guys and stuff like that. Right, right. But Ric Flair,
he's not a small man, though.
No,
well, he's not.
No,
but Ric Flair, obviously, when you saw him go up to Hogan, and you see that vignette when he talks to Hogan, and
I don't know if we could say that Bob Backlund wasn't a big man.
No,
Hogan to me was
right, but Bob Backlund though was pre-Hogan.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
You see what I'm saying? And Iron Sheik was pre-Hogan, and the Iron Sheik wasn't a huge man; he was bigger than Bob Backlund.
Well, I got you. It was Hogan,
like Bruno.
Andre,
and anybody that challenged for it, probably the smallest guy was Mr. Wonderful.
Yes,
but he still was put together. But who else was challenging Hogan? Was King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd. I mean, they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Zeus.
Hey,
shout out to Tiny Lister. I love you, man.
Lister.
Yeah, bro, they dogged you.
You know,
I seen the special when Hogan said you hit too hard.
I love Tiny Lister.
If he hit too hard, they wouldn't have brought him back in WCW for that uncensored pay-per-view.
Yeah, I know, right? They were so desperate. Oh my god. But the thing was, if you saw Flair, like, and they show it in I don't want to just keep referencing to this ESPN documentary, but they did show a lot of great content where you see Flair face off to Hogan, and it's like me facing off to Charles, it's size wise, but Flair, you see Hogan like, and he's hulking up and he's getting angry, getting his Hulk thing going on, and Flair is just doing Flair, and he's like, basically, you suck. I'm the world champion.
He should have the whole time.
He completely shit on him.
See, when he did that was coming kind of from the heart. But even though when he worked him, no one understands. If you watch, he did it like someone should. He worked a body part, not this where he's, body slamming a man 2 times his size. Remember, he worked his leg, worked the hell out of it.
And that was refreshing. I mean,
we didn't have a lot of technical wrestlers in the World Wrestling Federation at that time.
Well, you had
they weren't booked that way.
They weren't right. They weren't booked that to be over. I mean, I just remember when he came in, they really never made mention. WWF never made mention of the traveling of the. They taped all their shows 4 weeks at a time at some revenue. Flair would come out and say, "I see the women at the airport." We never heard that in WWF. It was always the kids and.
Well, remember the demographic that each one was going towards.
So it added even though it was a watered down version of the Crockett promotion era, it just gave you this like, wow, who is this guy?
Just think about all the guys that The Rock said one time, he said, "Listen to Flair." Mm-hmm. I mean, he's probably the best mic man ever. We all know that,
Right.
But Flair was that man.
Right.
And a lot of times they said he would shoot from the hip. That's why I used to think it was funny.
Yeah.
That's some of the stuff you had to worry about the writers scripting everything you had to say.
And you got a guy like that, and everyone's just cheering, and he knew what to say. He fed off the crowd.
Yes.
He made the crowd hear what he wanted them to hear.
I'm going to get a lot of flack for this comment, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack.
Here comes the beat.
Here we go.
Okay, but someone today who honestly watched Ric Flair tapes and who honestly, in a way, is trying to come off in that manner is Eli Drake.
What?
Eli Drake.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on Impact Wrestling. I know you don't watch that.
No.
But Eli Drake, if you watch his interviews, right? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! I disagreed with you, but yeah.
Eli Drake is coming off like a Ric Flair, so much more now that they gave him the title in Impact, and he pulls it off very well because Eli Drake
I'm not going to say that well. He does pull it off.
He does pull it off. I mean, he's not an impersonation.
No.
But you could tell the heavy influence is Ric Flair.
Yeah.
With his interview style.
All right, so let's stop talking about Drake and talk more Flair because I don't want to lose our audience to this jobber from TNA.
Wow.
Damn.
Next.
Coming from the security guard.
What are some of your guys' favorite matches of Flair? Because I tell you what, growing up, in 80s, 88, 89, 90, obviously Flair made Sting.
Right.
I think that was, that's
well.
general
Let me throw this out there, and then we'll be able to expand on it. 3 things, because you actually led me right into what I wanted to go into. With Ric Flair, you talk about, what's the greatest rival of all time, right? For Ric Flair.
Oh God.
And you can arguably say this one, that one,
Steve,
right?
Sting.
But here's what I think, and then I want us to expand on it. Emotional content, Flair, Dusty.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay?
That's fair.
Okay?
It's fair to Flair.
Wrestling, Ricky Steamboat.
That's fair to
Okay?
Flair.
Overall, rivalry, Sting. Remember, it's a different time frame. Obviously the Dusty era is not going to translate over to Sting.
Right.
But I think if you modern guys will say, "Oh, Flair, Sting." Obviously, you know that. Modern fans are going to say Flair, Sting. Because that rivalry was awesome.
It was great.
And he made Sting. He made Sting who he is. Steamboat brought us back to wrestling. And when I talked to Ricky Steamboat, and he said, "Oh, what, you don't like my match with Savage wrestling?" I said, "Because I'm not a mark." I said, "I like wrestling." And I said, "You versus Ric Flair was the greatest thing I ever seen in my life." His eyes lit up.
You guys just talking about a lot of main names. You're talking Sting and all this.
But these are the main rivalries.
Yeah, but just saying rivalries, but we were talking matches too. I think one of Flair's greatest matches I've ever seen was him and Wahoo McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these guys, it was built up. But a lot of the matches he just did was like, you're like, oh my God. Because the older he got, if you watch, the older he got, the better he got.
Yeah, exactly.
The more brutal.
Yep.
Some of the shit he did, I ain't gonna lie, I was like, how that old man doing that? Because I know when I got older, I was like,
You're talking about Wahoo.
No,
Flair.
Flair.
Well, Flair was a technical bruiser.
Yeah, but he just, as he got older, he just seemed like he got tougher.
But
he really did.
You could put him in the ring. I mean, I love Nikita Koloff. I love Lex Luger. Those guys had physiques, but they didn't necessarily have the wrestling.
No, he made them.
He made them look good.
Yeah.
So like
Dolph Ziggler makes people look good.
There it is. We were waiting. How long? 17
Happy
minutes
anniversary
in, we got it.
to the lovely couple.
But like, you could throw Flair in the match. I mean, one of my favorite times, and I don't know if Charles is going to like this, because I remember one of your favorite tag teams was, of course, Doom. When Flair dropped the title of Sting in 1990, and he wasn't getting the quote-unquote rematches because they had that bullshit storyline of the Black Scorpion, Flair and Anderson went after Doom for the tag team championship.
Yeah.
And the fans wanted to cheer Flair. They were both heel teams.
Yes.
And Flair just got cheered because the year prior he was face. But it was, you're talking, if you go back and watch Clash of the Champions, if you go back and watch Halloween Havoc 90, they had some great matches with Doom for the tag team. So he didn't have to be in the spotlight or the number one guy in the promotion to be Ric Flair. He elevated a lot of other wrestlers and talent by being used in so many different ways.
You know the funny thing is, though, he set a bar so high, though, that after his world title runs, it was hard to see him with anything else.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like, he ran for the tag titles, and even I was thinking, I saw that live at a show, and I was like, I wonder what's going to happen if they get the title. I can't imagine Ric Flair as a world tag team champion.
Right?
You know what I mean? Even though that's happened.
What are you talking about? When they gave him that U.S., I'm like, it don't even look like.
Yeah, 96.
Right, right. I was going to say that.
Flair, what?
He beat Conan.
That's like
he beat Conan for the United States title.
That's like him being
WCW version.
Intercontinental. Or, no.
Right.
But you know what, though?
Flair, TV champion. What's going on?
I'll tell you, though, the Intercontinental title, to me, when he got the Intercontinental title, and I wish it was the old belt.
That was like 05, right?
Right, but I wish it was the old belt.
05.
I wish it was the old belt. It was the new one, the oval one.
The oval one.
But I said Ric Flair, in the twilight of his career, I think is made to be an Intercontinental champion. Because that Intercontinental title, even at that point still, was like a very prestigious championship.
In 05? I disagree.
Not in 05. Not in 05.
When you forget, when he won it, though, people started wanting
to. Right, you see what I'm saying?
So that's what elevated that belt. He helped.
Well, I mean, he took it from who?
It brought us back to. Right, no, yeah.
Come on.
Right?
Let's face it. The Intercontinental title back in those days was the workhorse belt.
Yeah.
I've said it many times.
It always has
been.
Not in 05. Not in 05,
but wait a minute. It was the workhorse belt.
Yeah.
So moving in, you had a lot of guys who were actually trying to put in effort, and they were trying to give him a little kudos and this, that, and the other. And it took a little luster from the belt.
Yes.
What better way to bring the belt back to what it was, to reestablish it as the workhorse belt, than to put it on the man himself?
Right. Or just to take his name out of it, a classic competitor. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because now you're bringing it back to the days of.
You earned it.
You know, yeah, you're bringing it back to the Tito Santanas, the Don Moroccos, the Greg Valentines, the Pat Pattersons. Now you're seeing a wrestler again.
If you're gonna say all them names, you got to say Pedro Morales.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so just make sure you say it.
You know,
Pedro don't get no love.
I'd like to piggyback on what LeGrande said.
Pedro gets no love.
I like to piggyback on what LeGrande said. He made a good comment about
vote for Pedro.
Vote for Pedro.
You should have brought him back to manage the Mexicals.
So,
I would have loved that.
Right.
I would have loved that. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark.
Oh, it's okay. No, you're good. Flair reestablished the IC title,
yes,
which we just discussed. But if you recall back, one of my favorite matches from Flair, and this is a shock. I mean, I've had there's a list of favorite matches, but one of my favorites was that Monday Night Raw match in, I think, 2003 against Triple H.
Yes.
Where he was part of Evolution, H was part of Evolution, and I think Stone Cold was the GM who booked Flair to go against Triple H for the world title. And that following week, it was a lead-up show to, I think, Judgment Day or something that year, where Triple H was supposed to defend it against Kevin Nash.
Right.
And Flair and H had like a 20-minute main event Raw match that the fans absolutely were behind Flair to pull this out and win. And it was in a time in his personal life where he stated on a documentary where he didn't think he had it anymore.
Right.
He was really depressed, and H gave him the chance to go out there and be Ric Flair. That's one of my favorite matches. If you go back and watch that was Ric Flair just reaching back and just in 2003 when many people could say he was past his prime, just going out there and just delivering Ric Flair style.
But you're saying 2003. 1990, they were trying to say he was past his time.
Right, well, yeah.
2005, they tried to say
Jim Herd
was trying to say he was past his prime.
They said he died in the 80s, basically. Right. And like, how
dare you?
Right, seriously.
Right, seriously. We're going to talk. We're here at Canon Entertainment Studios, by the way, and we're going to go step away for a little commercial break, and then we're going to be back to talk more of the Nature Boy.
Mark, stop touching me. Mark, stop touching me.
Since 1974, Canon Entertainment has been serving the tri-state area, providing professional musical entertainment to thousands of our customers. Canon Entertainment doesn't just play music, we are professional musical entertainers. We have personality, talent, and each DJ has a minimum of 7 years experience. We are especially trained for events like the one you're planning. We will customize your event to make it everything you want, and we'll give you our many years of experience to make it even more. Don't gamble with your affair. Be sure to choose the best. Canon Entertainment. Check us out on the web at canonentertainment.com. Call us now.
That's right. You can call them at 610-449-8908. That Way Cool Wrestling Show. We're actually here recording in the Canon Entertainment Studios here in Havertown, Pennsylvania. We're talking about the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I'm not going to do any kind of impersonation or anything like that. There you go. Thank you very much. I thought somebody would do it. We're talking about...
It would be Mark.
Yeah. So just to recap, we're talking about Ric Flair. We just recently were speaking about his, is evolving the Intercontinental title back to something a little bit more grandeur. You were talking about his match against Triple H. Going back
by
to
the way, was a great match.
Yeah. Going back to what we just said a few moments ago before the break about not being able to see him as anything other than a world champion. Obviously, the Intercontinental title, to me, I said, that's appropriate. Because the Intercontinental title is a mid-card title. We compared it to the World Television title. I don't think I could see Flair as a World Television champion. Although I could see Flair as an Intercontinental champion. There's a little bit more class to it.
No, but see, he would take that World Television Championship.
Oh, my God.
Because he's more on TV. This thing, that's who, listen, let's be honest. When you watch the documentary, he's talking about the drinking, the partying, the women, whatever.
Space Mountain, baby.
Right.
That's who he was.
Yeah.
He was born to be a showman.
That's right.
Let's get honest. He was just born to be that.
It was very late in their time. But when I watched it, I said, wow, this would have worked so well. When they gave him the tag team titles with Piper.
Piper, yeah. And that was in 05 or 06.
Yeah, and I was
That's two guys there.
And I was like, whoa. I said, I'm
born
looking at this for a second.
Doing.
And I'm seeing him come out with the tag titles on. And I'm like, I believe this. You know what I mean? Because he had the tag team championship with Batista. And it was just such an odd pairing. It was almost like Sid Vicious in the year 2000 something. You know what I mean? Like where you have Flair and this gigantic guy, and it just doesn't look right. You know what I mean? But to see Flair with Piper, I'm like, here's two classic badasses.
Average Joes.
Average
looking Joes. We'll say average.
Who in the past have such a history themselves, together in the NWA and stuff like that. And then they came out, and it's like they should have run roughshod if they were younger. I understand, put it on them for nostalgic purposes or whatever, but like I would have loved to have seen the old men, quote unquote, just.
But if you think about it, I'm gonna use that as a comparison. Ole and Arm and the Wrecking Crew.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost what it kind of in a way what it was.
Yeah.
Two guys that had come out. Flair had flash, but he beat the hell out of you.
Yes.
And we all knew Rowdy. Rowdy didn't give a look. I love that man. I met him a couple of times. Nicest man you ever want to meet, but he just come there and punch you in the face. You couldn't beat that. He had all these guys. Even now, you got these guys now on TVC jumping around, looking all flashy. If Rowdy, he just punch you in the face. Ric Flair, he get in the ring, chop you, but he'll punch you in the face.
Yeah.
That's what wrestling is.
Like level you, like a hand hock.
That's what wrestling was, though. And that's what it should be.
And you know what?
And let's face it.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a guy or a gentleman like that in a situation like that, you can have all the power in the world, but eventually that experience is going to break you down because you're going to be beating and this, that, and the other. And the thumb to the eye is the great equalizer. Yeah. A nice
he's the first dude I remember watching doing that. Getting the hell kicked out of him, and he poked you in the eye. Mm-hmm. And he started. That turns the whole. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. No, I ain't gonna lie. I bounced for a while. You thumb somebody in the eye or chop him in the throat real quick. Whole fight ends. The game changer.
He brought a lot of reality.
Keeping it real. He kept it real. He kept it real. And sold better than anyone.
Now, you mentioned Ole Anderson. Ole Anderson, there's shoot interviews with him where he could not stand Flair. Could not stand him. And it's hard to think because he's like one of the original.
Yeah, but you got to look at when it comes to personalities. All right.
Oh, they're totally different personalities.
Well, that's what it. I mean,
he went on record though, and Ole Anderson went on record to say, "I didn't mind booking him to go to Texas, to go to Japan. You know how he said he traveled as a world champion. He said because that way I didn't have to deal with his shitty match. Is what he said." Because he felt that Flair wrestled the same match over and over again, which we could say about Hogan, we could say about a number of people, we could say about Cena, etc. But he said that, and it's so funny because you're like, but then he's revered as like the greatest by these other wrestlers. I'm not even talking about fans because fans are going to they're getting what they get.
I don't think Flair wrestled the same match.
No.
Yeah, I have a series for you to look at. You look at that Terry Funk series in '89 at the Bash and I Quit. He did not wrestle the same match at all.
You know what it is? In a way, he did, but
no, he goes up and down to whoever he's working.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I seen the match with him.
Supposed to do.
I think it was one of the greatest matches I seen too. Was Flair and I watched him wrestle Thunderbolt Patterson.
Yes,
right.
And it was first of all, Bolt came up, to a level. And they got, I was like, oh my God. I thought Thunderbolt Parrish was going to get his ass kicked in like 6 seconds. And they went, what? I think it was like 11 minutes. And it was like, you can see.
Almost 15 minutes.
You can see that it was a respect, because even Flair, Pat, Thunderbolt been around for a while. He did his thing. Back then, the black wrestlers didn't get the respect of the white wrestlers. But you can see right then and there that Flair had total respect for him.
Mm-hmm. Is it the same thing? Let me give you a really weird analogy, though. Because when they say he wrestled the same match, and I have to think back at different matches, and is it same? And we'll compare him to Hogan, because Hogan is just notorious for wrestling the same match.
John Cena,
right?
Same wrestler.
John Cena, same thing, right? Is it the example of me saying, all right, I'm going to give you this TV dinner. So Salisbury steak and fries, okay? And I'm going to give you that for the next 5-6 days, right? Or I'm going to take you to this Chinese buffet, because everybody knows I like Chinese buffet. And we're going to go to that Chinese buffet for the next 5-7 days. It's the same thing every day, only that the Chinese buffet just has more
for me to mix it up.
That was actually a very good analogy.
Right?
But
the question, so could we say that Flair wrestled the same match, only that he was more involved with his matches?
No, you can't say the same match because, okay, I worked for 17 years, right? Mm-hmm. There's so much you can think of and so much you can do, especially when you're going from A to B to C. Now, if I'm working LeGrande, right? Yeah. I know I trust LeGrande. Mm-hmm. So you don't mind, okay, you want to do this? Fine. But if you're all over the place, you still got to protect yourself.
Again,
you want to do it. Like, if I'm in the ring with Mark when he tried to wrestle, or I'm not being ignorant when Way Cool Jr., there's some things I'm like, I'm not sure about. Am I going to get hurt? Flair he protected himself.
Understand, when wrestling Way Cool Jr., you were never going to get hurt because I could not lift your ass in my life.
But what you figured, in a month, he probably wrestled 20 times.
Right? More than that. I think
I'm using that as a number.
Maybe more, yeah.
I'm using that as a number. Back then, Monday and Tuesday weren't big days. Wednesdays. No. It's not like nowadays. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday doing doubles. Thursdays maybe.
And they were all house shows. House shows for tape. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. But exactly. I'm just putting that out there. Like nowadays, you have your John Cena's, you have your Roman Reigns. Did your start with the finishers has to be the same finisher? Flair, you were looking for the figure four. But if he beat someone up without the figure four, remember, you're like, wow, you looked for it. That was his thing. Right. Okay, but nowadays, we all know how Cena's going to win.
But if you were booking Flair, you know you can go at least 45 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
To 60 minutes, right?
Without problem.
And that was a big booking thing. We know he's going to be the main event, whoever he's working, blah, blah, blah. You cannot do the same with Hulk Hogan.
Hell no.
Hulk Hogan, I don't think, could go beyond 15 minutes.
No.
In any match.
He did one match overseas. I forget who was working. What's his name? The big...
Inoki?
Inoki?
And you can see Inoki was getting, like... Frustrated. Like, he wanted to fuck him up for real. And I think a couple times in that match, he did.
Yeah.
I seen him... Vader was a big dude. Mm-hmm. Hogan was gassed. And Vader's kind of looking like, I'm like fat, but you're gassed and I'm not. Flair was
Hogan sold the Vader powerbomb too. So
you figure Flair when you went.
I think
there,
Vader was more of an athlete.
Yeah. Instead of you had to do 10 matches on the show. Mm-hmm. You pay Flair, you could do 5 matches.
Yeah, right.
Because he's going to give you 20, 25, 30,
and that's what they did in the NWA back in the day. They split the roster. You had Dusty leading one show.
And you know what? Though, and think about that for a second. When you go back to the demographic again, if your demographic is children, their attention span's a lot shorter.
Yeah.
So you're going to lose kids beyond 15 minutes watching Hulk Hogan wrestle King Kong Bundy.
I disagree. I think today's society, yes. When I was
today's society, if you're 40 years old, you're losing them after 3 minutes.
But when I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, I could watch. I watched that Flair Steamboat.
There is a difference, though. We were mature fans.
I was 12 years old.
We were mature fans, though. And every generation says it.
We didn't have iPads. That's what it was. We didn't have iPads.
You just played with your pecker.
Yeah. That was our joystick. No, but... and he said just button smash.
I know.
But see how rated R this show got real quick? But the thing is, though, every generation says it. were a more mature young group than the kids after us. Okay, and it's safe to say, and it's a cliche thing, and everybody says, and your parents say, "Oh, well, we were different from you," and then their parents say they were different from them. But it is the truth. I know as children, I look at my child now, both my girls, and I'm thinking to myself, at your age, I was nothing like you guys at all. And maybe it was the time, and maybe it's the whole environment.
Well, it's not time and environment. See, the kids nowadays, they have Monday, Tuesday, Saturday. All we had was Saturday.
Yeah.
That's what we
up until the late 80s when we had 7 days a week.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We had ESPN and stuff like that.
But we wanted what? What did you do? Your boys or whatever? We go, no, we ain't, man. Wrestling's on.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, no. If mom told you that grass had to be cut, that shit was cut before
7 a.m.
And you know what? Think about it, too. When we had 7 days a week wrestling, except for Saturday night 605, it was all 1 hour.
Yeah,
that's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
so we weren't
also
destroyed, like, you know, at the end of like a battle of watching Raw. You know what I mean? As an example,
they replayed matches. You're talking about World Class, right? And AWA.
World Class, AWA, and then you had UWF when it was reformed
on
in Florida.
Sports Channel, yeah. So on the ESPN, when you came home for school at 4 o'clock, you had World Class, the Legends of World Class.
Yes.
And this was like 88, 89, and they were doing back to like 83, 84.
Yes.
So you got to, like, that's how, you know, I never watched.
Well, that's how we got educated.
Right. I never watched in 83, but I sure as hell watched in 89.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew about Kerry Von Erich.
Yes.
Sam Houston.
That's how I met. That's how I got into the Freebirds.
Right.
Iceman King Parsons.
Abdullah the Butcher.
Sweet Brown Sugar. Sweet Brown Sugar.
You've been liking a lot of brown sugar stuff lately. You said too close, man. Go ahead.
I'm just taking care of my
wants a little bit of cream in his cup
here. but
that's,
you know,
Dan.
But you know, my favorite from that time was the Missing Link. He was ahead of his time back then. But
because all he did was throw the headbutts.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was.
Well, let's bring it back. Flair would go there and wrestle those guys and make
yes.
And one of the
and turn everyone away.
Remember Scott McGee?
Mm-hmm.
Scott McGee.
Scott McGee.
If it wasn't for Flair, think about it. If it wasn't for Flair, we got to say it. Your Von Erichs, we all know it. The Stings, all those dudes wouldn't be. They weren't anything.
Yes.
Flair was such a what's the word?
He can
linchpin.
Okay, we'll say linchpin.
Yeah.
To pro wrestling, to everyone's career.
He literally could almost work anybody of any gimmick.
All right.
I think he took that over from Harley Race, though. Harley Race, you know, back in the late 70s, early 80s, did the same thing. Didn't have the charisma or the character. The
WWF did not do him justice.
Of course not.
And
it was
to be introduced, and remember, because of our age group, to be introduced to him as the King Harley Race,
right?
What a joke!
We didn't know who he was.
We didn't know who he was,
right?
And you've got to, and then when you think about it, like what a downgrade of this tremendous world champion to be this crazy gimmick.
Right. What do you think?
And then you're like, then you say him against Flair. Like I would never think King Harley Race could hold his shoes
exactly
right.
Flair.
Yeah, okay.
You see what I'm saying? Because we're all talking about Flair here and about all the people that came before. Harley Race was very instrumental in making Flair.
Right. Absolutely.
You say Dusty Rhodes, and that's the God honest truth. But Harley Race,
that was the first Starrcade main event.
Right.
And I mean, you would have said I seen Flair like Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah.
Ivan Koloff.
The Garvins.
The Junior World Heavyweight Champion Denny Brown.
Yeah.
Wrestled him, and Denny Brown, who was this fat fuck with this little junior heavyweight title, and he put on a phenomenal match. Right or wrong? Right? Denny Brown. Everybody forgets Denny Brown because he only was on TV like every once in a while because he wasn't really something to look at. But he could wrestle. He could wrestle his ass off. And when he wrestled Flair, I'm like, oh, it's the world champion versus the junior world champion. And once again, JCP, it was about championships. It was about rankings. It was about, you know, like, where do you stand compared to me, son? Yeah, you're the junior world champion, but I'm the world heavyweight champion, blah, blah, blah. And to see them go back and forth, and Denny Brown was almost as technical in the style as Flair was.
Wait, Flair made the referee look good when he was going around like Flair. You know what I mean? You look
Tommy
at
Young.
Tommy Young. But when Tommy Young, remember they did the match? Tommy Young, I was like, oh my God, I was cracking up. But Flair made him look good.
Yes.
Are you talking about Charles Robinson, Little Nate?
Oh, that's it. Charles,
Nate,
yeah.
You're talking about Little Nate. We were talking Tommy Young because Tommy Young was like.
But
the NWA.
I mean, I seen Flair. Flair used to get in the ring with like Tommy Wildfire Richards. We're saying Tommy.
Yes.
These guys, he made everyone elevate the game. You know,
Ricky Morton there, Dan.
Ricky Morton. I mean, you sit there and talk about, you know how they say that, you know, Triple H is the game, whatever. No, Ric Flair was the original game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if you think about it, Triple H kind of models himself.
Yeah.
He'll put anyone over. It's all about putting the people over. Ric Flair will put people over. Hulk Hogan didn't want to.
You're just going to earn it.
John Cena and them don't want to.
You know why? Because I think Flair knew what was good for business. You want to use that catchphrase that they use ungodly now? He was good for business. Flair knew what was good for business.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan knew what was good for Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Right.
And remember, Hulk Hogan, just as a
John
quick
Cena,
little thing,
same thing.
When Terry Bollea, right, big Italian guy, right, they come in, they wanted to make him like almost like a Sheamus, this Irish shamrock guy, big bruised, big fighter from Ireland. That's what Vince McMahon Sr. wanted to do with quote unquote Hulk Hogan, or Terry the Hulk Boulder back then, right? And then it evolved into they said, well, no, it's a little too gimmicky or whatever. Let's just make him Hulk Hogan. But they didn't want him to be just Terry the Hulk Bollea, right? And then Hulk Hogan's born. So Hulk Hogan jumped on that meal ticket, and I'm not going to blame him. You know what I mean?
Well, the AWA kind of made Hogan, and then Hogan left right to.
What do you think about it?
Hogan just dropped him like a bad habit.
Business-wise, he was smart.
He was very smart. Yeah,
you know, even like you could say Taker. You know, they started doing you know, they were smart. You know, they did what was good for them. But like I said, a real, well, I can say it. Fuck it. Oh, we can cuss too. A real wrestler, guys that love the business, your Flairs, your Harley Races, your Wildfire Riches.
Yeah.
Who nowadays, and I'm gonna say it, you can bite me, your Dolph Ziggler's.
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
Finn Balor.
Mm-hmm.
Finn Balor.
Dude, they love the business. Mm-hmm. Bray Wyatt, oh my God. He loves the business more. You can see that he grew up in the business.
Of course.
He'll
put his uncle.
He'll put my mama over if it makes it look good. You know what I mean? This thing, I mean, I'm just
I'd rather
saying
see your mom as Sister Abigail, though. So,
but you understand, like Flair was all about. It's not this show. It's the next 10 shows. What are we going to do?
Right.
I remember watching him, man. You're just like, man, look at him. And when he slapped that figure 4 on, everyone knew what. I remember being in school.
Moments away.
You know,
We're either going to see a
and you put
reversal.
someone in the figure 4 talking about that don't hurt, and then they start screaming.
Right.
You're like, uh-oh.
You know what the funny thing was? The wrong part of the leg hurt.
yeah.
When you did a figure.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? They always said the bent leg was the part that they were working on, but meanwhile, when they put that across my kneecap, my kneecap was hurting like a son of a bitch.
Charles mentioned the when you saw the figure 4, you knew it was over, which was exciting because I think when Steamboat won the world title and when Sting won the world title, they were from inside cradles from the figure 4 being applied.
But when they put it on, it wasn't automatic.
Right.
Dudes would fight the figure 4 for like 6 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then finally, you know, not
they
when
get pinned or they tap out.
you're not like when you see, you know, you see the Superman punch or you see this or, you know, I don't like John Cena. You see his little shake shit, you know. Every time, you know, he does that little you can't see me punch. Okay, oh good, the match is almost over.
Yeah.
Unless when he wrestled The Rock and The Rock would, you know, stuff like that. But they made it believable.
With the exception
Yeah.
of a cutter / RKO, the figure 4 and stuff like that, they weren't these gimmicked finishers.
Yeah.
Whereas the Superman punch, the John Cena you can't see me, the people's elbow, the one I hate, the worm.
Oh, shut up, man.
Right? It takes 25 minutes for it to get done. I mean, it's so
if you would have did
telegraphed.
that, it would have been perfect.
Oh, I would have fucking just.
Okay.
Dan would have rocked that
I
out.
would have rocked that out with a mullet. Oh, it would have been great, dude. Are you kidding me? But we can go on and on.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Before we go,
Yes.
one of my favorite matches that we really didn't touch on at all
Yes.
was Ric Flair versus Ric Flair. And by saying that, I mean when Shawn Michaels retired Ric Flair.
Oh, my God.
You talking about emotional investment and so forth and so on. You got to see classic Ric Flair versus his younger doppelganger. Because let's be honest, the boy toy, the sexy boy, all that kind of crap, it's all modeled off of the jet plane flying, limousine ride, wheeling, dealing, kiss stealing, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing.
And that was, if you watch that match, I remember watching, the biggest sign of respect I've ever seen in my entire life in wrestling. Think about what I'm saying when it comes to wrestling. Shawn Michaels knew Ric Flair was the man. That was the perfect match to put together if you want to do that so-called retirement match. Not a John Cena, not anyone.
Right.
Anyone. I'll say anyone. He worked that match. And Ric Flair, how old was he at the time? 54?
54,
or
56. 56, I think he was.
56.
56.
I don't know about you, but Shawn Michaels was worked. And he knew it. A 56-year-old man got in there and worked his balls off. Shawn Michaels, even when he delivered the super kick, you know.
The I love you super
kick.
But you know what?
It was something that you're watching.
That was,
I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I teared up.
Oh, damn. Hold up, man.
I teared up.
I wanted him to kick out. I wanted him to kick out.
I teared up during the 30 for 30.
Two super kicks.
Yeah, he should have took 2 super kicks.
This show didn't turn out the way I guess we all started it, and then we kind of went in different directions. But I really wish we spent more time talking about Flair Funk, because in 1989,
there were
from
two,
May
to
two
November.
guys.
Yeah, we're just saying that. I mean, not cutting you off. We're talking about a whole aspect. We can talk about the Flair Funk rivalry on one show alone.
Right.
And we may do that.
I mean,
let's just do 1989 that you're in review.
Yeah, we'll do 1990.
21 years
later. How old were you?
21 years later, yeah.
How old were you then?
I'll be 41 next month.
He's like, I was 4.
I acted like I'm 4.
Yeah.
You're 41?
Yeah.
Damn, you look old as shit.
I get off topic.
Oh, sorry.
And just think, I used to look up to you.
Yeah, see that?
If I'm old,
listen.
that you're older.
Hold on, man. Hold on. No, don't you cut this off. Don't you cut this off.
I'm not cutting it off yet. We're over. But this is Ric Flair. So I was like, I'm doing like they do when the referee allows a lot of shit to happen.
Yeah,
I'm allowing it to go.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about this whole day, we could talk for hours,
another hour and a half,
hours.
And we can't.
I mean, just to say what we gotta say.
Yes.
Like he said, to beat a man, you had to beat the man.
Yeah.
Only thing that beat that man was age.
Right, I agree.
Only thing that beat that man was age. Father Time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he was.
You know what though, and I'll counteract that, because I think what beat him was alcohol. Because because
that's what's beating him now.
Not to say that everybody can do like Terry Funk and come back in his 70s and wrestle again and again and again and again, but I honestly think Flair, had he not had any kind of like issues like what he's had recently,
and
like
7 wives,
can go into a match tomorrow and have a hell of a match.
But I mean, not to cut. I mean, since we're talking about that, alcohol is the modern day Percocet. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When you wrestle that many matches,
yes,
you're gonna do something to stop the pain. I mean, LeGrande will tell you, we did a couple of shows where we probably shouldn't have been out there because we did a show the night before and the night before that, and you gotta like go and get yourself out there. That man, I'm not saying it was a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a shame that when they said he drank that much, I was like, damn, he's my hero all over again.
Right.
But just wish there was another way, because like you said, right now he's what? How old is he now?
66.
At 66, if it wasn't for like the booze, I bet you can go out there and do a match.
I honestly do.
I put money on it.
He can do a series.
Yeah, no,
I honestly do.
He probably could do it. Yeah,
because you remember he comes from a different stock.
Yeah,
he really does. Even though he is so glamorized, and when I say glamour, because you think of Ric Flair versus like a Dick the Bruiser, where it was crew cut and I'm just a stocky guy and I'm going to beat you up.
That's how it started.
But he comes from that. See, that's the thing.
Handlebar mustache.
He comes from that. He took that gorgeous George.
Yes.
Persona.
Buddy Rogers.
And Buddy Rogers, and he took that persona and adapted it to the time when everybody was a ham hock throwing, I'm going to beat you up type of, and Dick the Bruiser. Dick the Bruiser. That's, you know what I mean? And Ric Flair was a bruiser. He was not a highly technical wrestler. He was technical, but he was more so like
he was adaptable.
He was very adaptable. He could punch you in the face, and his punches, you saw, they were like cinder blocks, just like boom, real short. It wasn't a big wind up. There wasn't a lot of like panache when it came to like how he presented him punching you. You know what I mean? He just leveled you off. He like had you like 6 inches and just
stunned the hell out of you
and just punch you right in the chops. You're like, oh, you know what I mean? That type of thing. But you know what? There will never be another Nature Boy Ric Flair. And just on a side note, they say he's the 16-time world heavyweight champion, but you can document that he's actually, I think, the 18-time.
I think it's 18.
I think it's 18. It's 18 times. They have it documented somewhere. I forget where I saw it, but there's two.
But we all know who's going to beat that, right?
There's 2 championships that are not being recognized. Yeah,
and
I don't know.
Total crap.
Which is total crap.
I don't know why that is, but yeah, he is the 18-time world heavyweight champion. They can't take it away from him. The Nature Boy Ric Flair, may he live forever. Honestly,
he will on video.
He will, yeah.
Yes.
There will be no other, and there will be nobody that'll take his place.
And to be honest, his daughter looks exactly like him.
I
think he's
so
reincarnated.
Honestly, yeah, in life,
she looks just like him. I'm sorry.
And you know what? God bless her. And you see real quick. She said in the 30 for 30. You know, she took over the dream for Reed.
For Reed, yeah.
Right? And Reed was on his way to being... Now, whether or not Reed would have been a Ric Flair type, I don't know. I think it would have been more like a Cody Rhodes to Dusty Rhodes, where he would have had his own thing going on.
But it was his dream.
But let me tell you something. Ashley Flair is phenomenal. She took her father's persona, adapted it to a woman,
and ran.
Added more spice to it, and ran with it.
But being honest though, who was the better teacher?
Yeah,
you could tell he worked with her. Everyone, you could see that just by the way she carries herself and all the videos she probably had of her old man. Think about it. I mean, he did work with her. There's no doubt, that he helped her a lot. They may not say no, whatever. Yeah, that's because when she first...
And she ran through a couple guys, too, so she's just like her father.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she is the nature girl.
Yeah, I mean, like he said, jet flying, limousine riding. Hey, that's what it was.
And let me tell you something. She's about 5'10". She's a big girl. She's not...
She's thick.
But man, do I like looking at her. I ain't gonna lie, dude.
So you like looking
at what I mean? And it's weird because I'm like, I see Flair, and I'm like, oh, here's my love for, like, Ric Flair. But now you're a woman. It's like,
don't touch me.
On
that note, he's touching me again.
Wow. I'm sorry. Tell Dolph Ziggler I'm sorry. We went really over, but you know what? It was for the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Sorry.
It was for I can't get a hold of him. He changed his number.
Literally.
No. Long live Flair. Woo! For LeGrande Onslaught Jackson, Mad Mark Lindsay, and Charles Gemini Gregory. My name is Danny J, and we'll see you at the matches. Goodbye, everybody.
The proceeding was produced by DJB Productions. Go to www.thatrealcoolwrestlingshow.com.